So for today, and everyone tuning in, we are trying to learn Skaven. So the entirety of today will be focused on them and my journey on trying to figure them out. The process is going to be pretty rigorous because we really want to focus on getting a nice understanding of how Skaven work. So we're going to start off with pretty standard builds and then slowly bridge out from there into experimentation. This should give us a strong idea of the general Skaven playstyle, their strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully by the end of a few days I will be able to start bringing Skaven in tournaments. That would be the best case situation. But for now, we're going to see if we can even pick them up in the first place. So, to mirror what I usually see from a lot of Skaven players, we're going to go for this oval formation with Skaven slaves in the front and clan rats in the back. We have wolf rats that will be using sort of like rat ogres, and rat ogres who will be doing the job of killing anything that tries to cycle charge our infantry. So this is the tank, and here is the damage. So all that out of the way, gotta set up some hotkeys, and I think we're good to go. Okay, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we're up against the High Elves. But they're not too scary, and if they bring a bunch of archers, the double poison wind mortar could be pretty vicious versus them. Even better for us, in the fact that they only have a Lithanar and no bolt throwers. The High Elves do have a unit of Illyrian Reavers in the back there, which is pretty interesting. Let's see, but I don't think they should be too much of a threat. On this map, though, we can expect some sort of deployment in the forest. You usually see that, and it's usually a bunch of cavalry. So seeing the sort of front line and not being too worried about it, I'm going to move my infantry so that they face the forest. And you can see my predictions were indeed correct, as some cavalry do begin poking the heads out of there. We have stopped advancing since we very much... Oh, geez. Boltstein. We've stopped advancing because we are outgunning our opponent. So it means that we want to be buying as much time as possible for our... We want to be buying as much time as possible for our guns. The Phoenix now is moving in, but can it actually... can it actually land here? Not really. And we can just get our Jezzails to start shooting it. Our poison wind mortars are going to be spreading out their fire. And that is because their damage is less based on impact and more because of the damage comes from the dot effect. That's the damage over time that they only need to or they only need to just barely touch their target to get that damage in. Now we are getting a little bit of a gap in our lines, so we'll have to close that up with the use of summons, and the Phoenix is looking like it may be in a rough spot. So we're going to throw down our damage spells on top of it, and hopefully that'll bring it down. We're also going to get another summon out here so that we can start chasing off the archers, and we actually managed to kill the Phoenix, which I must say is pretty surprising. Our wolf rats seem to be doing okay versus the rangers. A little bit of cycle charging there should work out for us. But our front line continues to fall apart. This is pretty normal by Skaven standards, but it feels very worrying. Let's see how that continues, though. Oh, there's some Sisters of Avalorn there, actually, that I missed. So we're going to be focusing them with both Poison Wind Mortars. And we're also going to be trying to deal with these Illyrian Reavers. So we can get a snare on them. Which means that they will be taking a lot of damage, but they do manage to shut down my guns for a short moment. However, I don't think my guns will be taking too much damage, so I feel like that's a good trade for me. There's some Illyrian Reavers over here engaging my infantry, but with the new mobile wolf rats, I think we should be fine. They apparently do a lot of damage to cavalry, so excited to see how that goes. Meanwhile, Squolk is continuing to get sniped by a Lithanar, I believe. So I think it's time we start using these abilities before he dies. Rod of Corruption, just to deal damage to that noble. We're just trying to get his value out while we still can. So Illyrian Reavers are running. We can just leave the dogs on them. And we're going to continue bringing our forces into the front line. Nice, the noble actually does take a lot of damage. And we forgot to use Assassin's Trophy on him. So a bit of a misplay there. But it still works out since the noble is surrounded by my single entities here. Lithanar looks like he's marching up, but I do expect that is a clone. We'll dive in on it anyways, though, since there isn't much else to be fighting here. And we're going to continue using our wolf rats to cycle charge the infantry and to keep the cavalry away. In fact, they've actually done really well this game. Although not spectacular. We'll have to see at the end of this game, which should be coming about now. We get a close victory. And let's take a look at those damage numbers. So, Squolk and the assassins weren't in combat for too long. Of course, Poison Wind Mortars are excellent. Jezzails are excellent. And let's take a look at the Wolf Rats. They about paid for themselves. They still had a bunch of HP too. And I think playing extremely safe with them there sort of paid off. They were still at high HP. And they did even better than the Rat Ogres because of their mobility. For our opponent, I think there were just a few too many misplays losing those high priority targets. So in this next game, as the Skaven, we are facing up against the Wood Elves. I'm using an older build that is only modified slightly for the new update. So previously, Wood Elves would have a pretty weak rush, and Skaven would be able to abuse that with their Skaven would be able to abuse that with by taking a lot of like a very strong front line with a bunch of monsters, and then just taking some Poison Wind Mortars to kill any skirmishers. The Wood Elves didn't really have a whole ton of options before, but now it can be a lot scarier. Wood Elves can go for a very intense they have variations of the different rushes they can do. They can go for Orion, they can go for Treemen, Drycha, and all of those options are pretty scary. So in response to that, I've changed the build to be less effective versus skirmish and more effective versus rushes. We have our dogs with poison attacks since they deal more damage. And what's it? And yeah, we have our anti-skirmish tools too, although thinner than usual. An ROR mutant rat ogre for some magic damage. I'm testing out to see how this guy feels, but hopefully he can kill the ethereal great stags. Of course, the usual Skaven chaff to hold the line for stuff like our rat ogres to deal some damage. So that's about our whole army. We've used up almost all of our hotkeys, but I'll mostly be focusing on 1 to 6 and number 9. So, good luck, have fun to our opponent. Let's see how this goes. Anathrema asking, do you think the Chillgeist can win versus ROR Stag Knights. I think there's a bug with the Stag Knights right now where their charge doesn't do impact damage. So the Chill Geists might be able to win off of the initial charge. But getting into the game, our opponent has set up for indeed a rush, and it looks like a Dryad heavy rush. So we're going to reposition so that we can be ready for it. And we're just deploying all of our forces over on that side. Let's see, there are some Wild Riders and some Treekin too, along with quite a few archers. The Dryads on this side, though, at the very least, seem pretty undefended. And we can just cycle charge them with the dogs. They will take quite a bit of damage. But we have to make sure that we're actually cycle charging there. I'm also looking out for that Lord, but I'm not seeing one right now. Interesting. Oh, he's over here, and it's Orion. So very scary indeed. We're going to have to make sure that he does not run us over. Our assassin can throw down a debuff there at the very least. And I think we're going to use a summon to begin pushing back. Oh man, my dog's dying. To begin pushing back the archers. Let's get over there. Let's chase off those Deepwood scouts. And then we'll use our mortars and guns to chase off, to kill those guys. The Treekin are also lagging behind. And we need to get this mutant rat ogre in on the action. How are our rats doing? It looks like they just got charged by some cavalry. There are some wild riders moving along the side too. So we'll send some rat ogres over there. We also have warp lightning that we can throw down. And it looks like our clan rats over there are doing relatively well. Ooh, I see also a nice pick on the branch right here with our assassin. So we'll send him over. And we're going to continue, we're going to send in another summon. That should be able to deal with, to deal with these Deepwood scouts. As soon as the other unit of clan rats begins running away. Rat ogre will have to run to safety. Since he is taking quite a bit of damage. And it looks like those wild riders actually outmaneuvered us a little bit. And they do jump in onto my guns. So, bit of a misplay there for me. But I think we should be able to survive that. Our warlock engineer gets sniped out. I'm not sure what happened to him. But it should be okay. I can see that we're doing well in this center fight over here. There's really only the Treekin left that are very that are a bit scary. But we should be able to deal with them. The Deepwood scouts are continuing to run. And now we have a pretty big break of these wild riders. Although a big AoE comes down. Actually doing some friendly fire damage there. I think that might have worked out in our favor, actually. It did a lot of damage to the wild riders. And now we're setting up for the late game. We're going to have to deal with Orion somehow. But we have an assassin, and we have the ROR rat ogre. Hopefully they will be able to carry it out. But we'll see. Let's see, this branch rate is on the verge of breaking, which will be big. As that is the source of magic damage for the wood elves here. So we'll send in the assassin, and if we see Orion get close, we'll pull that assassin away. See, my ROR hell pit. We'll want to stay away from Orion until the final fight. And of course, we want to continue chasing off Deepwood scouts. So we're going to do a slight disengage here. While we chase off those dryads and take stock of the situation. Some wild riders are still alive. And luckily for me, these guys are slow enough where we can safely disengage without having to worry too much. My warlock engineer actually takes quite a bit of damage from, that wild rider charge? Yeah. But we have our assassin moving in on them. Our rat ogres are getting close too, and our poison wind mortars are doing some friendly fire. Not optimal. We want those guys to be firing at the Deepwood scouts. Now, the branch rate is getting a bit ahead of themselves. So we're going to see if we can take them out. And we're going to stay away from Orion by using our rat ogres. So there we go. And let's see, our poison windbonders will get charged there by the wild riders. But we have wolf rats coming in. Now, where are my anti-Orion tools? We have our assassin, we have our ogre, and as soon as these treekin are out, we can start causing some damage. Ooh, our wolf rats actually died to the wild riders there, which is a little bit unfortunate. And this blob here is really scary, so we're gonna have to make sure that we play this out correctly. Thankfully, we do finally manage to take care of the Deepwood Scouts. And while the assassin finishes off that branch wraith, in fact, let's get Skaven slave slingers on them instead. We're going to start dealing with these treekin. Oh man, my mortars. We're going to take off fire at will on them because they're still doing friendly fire damage. And we're going to pull off this rat ogre that seems overly eager to get himself killed. Alright, so assassin's going to move in. Get this bell stuck in the fight. The rat ogre needs to continue to run. Some dryads are coming up, but they're not a problem. And okay, finally, our rat ogre is out. The bell can stall Orion for a bit. And we should be ready in a bit to throw down a whole ton of debuffs on him, which will hopefully get him killed. Oh man, but he's hunting down my assassin right now, and he still has quite a few javelins. And my assassin actually is refusing to move, and he gets punished for it. So that is pretty bad. It means that we just really have this rat ogre left, and the treekin are really mucking things up here. This is looking like a bad situation. I've lost a lot of my resources to deal with Orion. Due to some pretty nasty misplays, along with his healing. I'm thinking this is probably going to be a loss. We do thankfully get our assassin back though, and it looks like we're set up to get our rat ogres back. But I really wish that I had something like a hell pit abomination here. So let's see what we got. We chased off the branch wraith, which is good. We still have a ton of winds of magic, so I think I was a little bit too careful there on that front. But we have our assassin for debuffs. We can throw some rat ogres too on top of Orion. It's only too bad that our ROR rat ogre won't be able to cycle charge him. We do have a bunch of summons too, which will help. And it's all about being able to burst down Orion at this point. I guess we'll get this bell and cycle charge him. But we've also effectively run out of winds of magic, which is definitely pretty bad. We don't have any more spells, and I think his cloak will probably carry him here. Is a big shame for sure, but we're going to keep trying to scrap it out. Now we can use our chaff here to do a lot of the damage. And then as soon as these guys have a little bit, have recovered their stamina a little bit, then they can get in on the fight against Orion. Some treekin are actually coming back, but I think if they get charged by rat ogres, that should be okay. So let's see here. Take a bit of damage. And now we're starting to lose our infantry. Let's see. Ooh, some dryads are coming in too. And Orion is going to be breaking out of that infantry prison, which is pretty scary for me. At the very least, we are able to finish off the treekin. There we go. And I think it's all or nothing now. So we have our assassin, we have our rat ogres. And with the small amount of remaining infantry, we're going to go for a Hail Mary to try and finish him off. Let's throw down a big debuff on top of him. And use our bell to start just ramming him, trying to do as much damage as possible. Our opponent does the correct play and snipes out our assassin, which is pretty bad for us. We need those debuffs. But yeah, this is gonna be rough. If he kills our assassin here, that makes things even worse. But he does manage to escape. Orion is surrounded by rat ogres. Now our bell does have a constant damage, I believe. It gives a, let's see, it gives a constant melee buff. I'm not sure. I think it has a damage aura, but yeah, I'm not sure. So we're going to wait for 19 seconds so we can debuff Orion again. And hopefully this assassin can go in and kill him. But Cloak of Isha should be proccing, if not already. That makes Orion a lot harder to kill. We can see he's even pushing towards my assassin here. Trying to get that kill, but we won't let him. And it actually lets us get in a little bit of free damage on top of him. So yeah, while he tries to maneuver, it's much easier to land hits on him. And now we can actually bring in our assassin while his back is turned and hopefully get in some big hits. So there we go. We'll charge in now and see if this assassin can win the game for us. He needs to not get hit and he needs to do a lot of damage to Orion. But he's on the verge of being terrified, and there he goes. That is the last we'll see of him. And now it's just now it's just our bell. I think Ben is correct. He says you need a plague furnace to get constant damage. So this does not give that. And Orion will be taking it out. So GG. And I think our opponent did well there. He killed off the important targets that he needed to make sure that we couldn't cycle charge him. I did a big misplay losing my mutant rat ogre. It actually feels like it controlled a little bit strangely. It felt like it was just jumping straight into combats that I didn't want it to. Possibly some attack animations, possibly just some miss micro from me. But yeah, our opponent took out key targets like these Giselles and this rat ogre and our assassin. So yeah, really good on him, and I'll need to make sure I keep those guys alive against Orion even more, with even more focus than I was earlier. Our rat dogs did okay, but I think they could have done better. Getting into this game once again as Skaven, we are playing up against the Beastmen. We have Throt along with a bunch of wolf rats. Which should serve as a very powerful mobility force. Our front line will consist of Skaven slaves, just to tank the charge. And our second line is going to be clan rat spears. These guys will be moving in to engage in the front line once the fighting gets started. Behind them are our Skaven slave slingers, and these guys won't have too much in the back to defend them. You know what? I feel like that's a bad idea. So we're going to leave 2 Skaven slave spears behind them, and we're going to have the council guard over here for to tank if anything comes in from the middle. Specifically, if we see a chaos spawn summon, these guys will be able to move in and hold them up for quite some time. So, our main fighting force is this Hell Pit Abomination and this Plague Priest. Hopefully, the combination of the two will be able to win any large blob fights. So yeah, there we go. Our backline is a little bit more exposed than usual, but I think that should be fine, given that we actually have a mobile Skaven force here. Good luck, have fun to our opponent. Let's see how this goes. Now for our opponent's army, it is a bit smaller than mine. Numbering actually quite a bit smaller, numbering at 1,200. And he's going to begin by moving up his Centaur throwing axes to throw into the backs of my Skaven slaves. Immediately, I'm seeing that we have a much bigger mobility advantage here. And we're going to be trying to use that, get some free hits. And it looks like with the combination of the slows, we actually managed to bring down those Centaurs to about half of their HP. So that's an amazing start for us. And now we can begin this this infantry fight. Now we really don't want our wolf rats to be routing, because the edge of the map is so close. So we'll have to be careful there. There is a unit of archers too, but we can chase them off with with a summon, no problem. Some harpies are moving in, so we'll get ready to move in our spears. And a lot of the forces are on the left side here, so I think we should move our council guard there to support. Our slingers want to position to throw into these minotaur with shields. And then they should be good. Let's see, the harpies have successfully gone caught up. But our hell pit is in a pretty bad fight up against some halberd units. We definitely don't want that to be happening. So we'll just pull it back. Although the hell pit is getting pretty stuck, which is worrying for sure. Now, let's see, we do juke out the Gorble using our superior mobility. And we can actually summon some rat ogres there. Should do pretty well. Our hell pit does get routed. And now I'm just really hoping that it doesn't die at this point. Let's see. Oh, that's my assassin. What's he fighting? I'm not entirely sure. But let's see. There we go. So we want to get another summon on those archers so that they just to shut them down. And we're going to see what's it? Thwart, actually, you should be healing that hell pit abomination. What's the range on it? I'm not sure, but he's not getting the heal off. The hell pit abomination should be coming back though. Oh man, but that Gorble is actually getting pretty close. So a bit of a misplay from me. I did forget that our hell pit could be healed. And looks like we're gonna be punished for that real bad. Let's see. Meanwhile, our Bell is fighting up against Malagor. It's a fine fight to be in. We're just going to try saving that hell pit. Oh my gosh, thank goodness. So the hell pit does come back. Our wolf rats are coming back too. And we're going to continue using our Skaven slaves to shoot those, to shoot the these halberds. So we can just keep running away with the Skaven slaves and they should be good. Our plague priest has no real threats here other than those throwing axes, so he'll just have to be careful around them, and then he should be just fine. Gorble now is engaging on our lord, but our hell pit is moving into support, so I think that's not really something we have to worry about here. Oh wow, our Bell is actually taking a lot of damage, so a miscalculation there from me. Could cost us the game even. But we have a nice squad on that Gorble. He's taking a lot of damage. And it's sort of like we're trading out our Bell for him. Let's see. And we did manage to kill the archers too. Definitely a help. The Gorble can take a debuff from my forces. And I think we'll just be using our last dog unit very carefully. My games as Vampire Coast have taught me that keeping one unit of dogs alive in the late game is extremely important. So using that knowledge here, I think will be a good idea. Our hell pit has taken a little bit of damage. We don't want it to die early, so we're going to be playing safer with it and getting a few cycle charges in on that Gorble. After the Gorble is done, it's really just the Minotaurs, the throwing axes, and the archers that can deal with my single entities, which isn't the worst place in the world to be in. Let's see, Malagor is continuing to chase my Plague Priest, but we can run away, and a cycle and a charge into the those halberd units should be able to take them out. So we're feeling like we're in a really nice situation now. Thwart will have another heal for the Hell Pit in just a moment. And our Plague Priest managed to make it out alive. We've taken out a lot of the anti-large of the Beastmen, and the balance of power now begins to swing wildly in our favor. So I do believe this should be a win at this point. There's not much that the Beastmen can do to come back out of this situation, and especially as we now finish off by routing this infantry group here, I think we should be fine. Now the Gorbel could still pull out a miracle, but we have healing on the Hell Pit, and I think even if it hits every attack at this point, we should still be winning. He actually does kill the Plague Priest, so maybe I have been a little bit overconfident in my predictions here. But the Gorbel goes down. Let's just continue trying not to make mistakes though, just to make sure that there isn't a crazy comeback for the Beastmen. Let's see, the Hell Pit. Yeah, it is. The Hell Pit is able to take out the rest of the ogres, and we do manage to get him to army losses. Okay, nice. So those throwing axes did a lot of damage to our bell in the mid game, and we were very lucky that it managed to live there. I think the dogs did pretty good though. Let's just see. And it looks like they only did okay. They definitely could have done better. And maybe it was just a small map and they routed off a little bit too quickly. Storm Vermin did okay. And I'm not really sure what paid for itself mostly. Here we go. So it turns out all of our money was coming from all of our damage value was coming from these Skaven slave slingers, which is pretty surprising. What's it? This unit of Skaven slaves alone paid for all 4 of them. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. They were shooting at the Koroks Man Rippers the whole game, which was a good idea. But okay, let's get into the game. We have our Skaven army against Empire, and our build is a little bit unconventional. We're going for something of a rush, I guess, with a chieftain, with his with his guardian effect. See here, 15% physical resistance to Skulk and the assassin, which should go pretty well. In fact, that brings the assassin up to like what, 45% physical resist. So that could be big. Yeah, that means that our assassin negates takes about half damage from anything that isn't magical. So that's pretty good. Maybe we can try some physical resist shenanigans later. We have a pretty normal chaff front line, but for our second line, we brought a bunch of plague monks. These guys are very good versus a lot of the Empire infantry, and if they can actually get on top of them, they should cut them down. The only problem is that they can be shot and skirmished, so to counter that, we've brought some slingers and the teeth breakers. These guys are pretty great, and we just have to make sure that they do not die. Let's get these rats in position, and we're just going to be trying to rush it. No crazy flanks, since we can't win a fight along the flanks. We'll just be using our rats for counter charging. Good luck, have fun to our opponent. Hello, Virtual Thunder. So hello. Have you been enjoying the DLC recently? How's it going? Is that a chieftain on Bonebreaker? On a Bonebreaker. Yep, there we go. Here is our chieftain. The model looks pretty great. That nice shoulder pad there. Pretty cool. He has a little just a little place to stand on the back there. Really fun design. Yeah, so I'm expecting this guy, we're still going to have to be very careful to make sure he doesn't die. Oh, and we didn't bring Thwart, so he can't actually get healed. But he gives physical resist to our assassin, which will be pretty interesting. So excited for that. Ah, Virtual Thunder. So you just found my stream. From where? Just browsing Twitch. From Turn's channel, maybe. Did I take a -5 melee attack aura? Only on Squulk. So I could have taken it too on the Chieftain. And I probably should have. That would have been interesting. But anyways, our opponent is ready. So let's get into it. So for our opponent, they have brought an army of 1,000. And if we look at his actual setup, the 2 cannons, a bunch of knights, and a bunch of infantry to protect handguns. Pretty cool. So we just gotta focus on our advance without taking too many hits from the cannons. One actually manages to hit my chieftain off at the get-go, which sort of sucks. My dodging strategy is really easy to manage, but because I'm not actually paying attention to when they're firing, there is a chance that the cannons will still hit. So a little bit unlucky there, but it did happen because I was lazy. So deserved unluckiness. The cannon shots are continuing to shoot at my hero squad, so we will be able to mitigate a lot of its damage by our continued dodging. And you know what? I think our wolf rats can probably take to the flanks to act as a better distraction for the knights. Let's see, these guys also need to move up. And my chieftain is having the worst time of his life. Let's see here. He needs to get put on a separate hotkey group. He needs to move back before he dies. There we go. And the chieftain needs to continue dodging while these guys move on in. Some Empire Knights are moving in. We will be able to catch them out though. And we're getting good engagements all around. The Squulk too. You get a summon off over here. And you can see the catch with our rats and the teeth breakers is working out great. Let's see, we can probably shut down a cannon at this point too. And now that those knights are effectively shut down, we can move up with our guns. See, some knights have routed off my spears, but we have more spears at the ready. Ooh, our rats are taking a bit of a charge from the knights, which hurts. They managed to get out. And now we can actually go for a dive in on Balthazar Gelt. So very important that we do this correctly. And we just throw down a whole ton of debuffs on him. And then hopefully that will get him dealt with. Some knights here. Reiksguard can be charged. And the cannons are continuing to shoot at my chieftain. So my poor chieftain. Having a very rough day today. But he's done well in that, at the very least, he's distracting some cannons. So good on him. My wolf rats do get routed off by the knights. A little bit of a misplay from me. But these ones on the left flank are doing well. Our chieftain is now on the run, which is unfortunate. But we've secured a pretty nice lead. Let's see. These Skaven slaves can now start shooting these handgunners. And I think we can go for another attempt on Gelt's life. Get our wolf rats in. Get ready to chase him off. And our kill squad moving in on top of him should be able to finish him off. Let's see, Squulk doesn't have any of his cooldowns. There are some knights in the forest too. It looks like they've been forgotten about. And now that we have our assassin in on Gelt, I think we're fine. Let's just throw in some dogs on top of him to chase him off. And our plague monks should be able to clear out the rest of the infantry. There aren't really any more knights left. We will probably lose our dogs due to, once again, another miss micro. But I think we've done enough. Teeth breakers should have been shooting on these knights a little while ago. But we'll get them in now. And that should be able to deal with them. There we go. We can see just a huge amount of fire going down. Should be able to take out those knights very quickly. They actually do rout there. We can sick some dogs on them too. Should go well. At this point, it's really just a fight for army losses, given that the balance of power is so far ahead. So yeah, I think we're good. So I think for this game, the cannons did okay, but what's it? They really traded about even with my chieftain, and they didn't do more damage than that. And given that my chieftain is cheaper than 2 cannons, I think it actually worked out pretty well for me. We didn't really need our chieftain to do anything else anyways, so it sort of worked out. Where am I from? I am from Canada, good friend. Good sir. Yeah, chieftain gave his life for the glory of the horned rat. He even made it out alive, so good on him. Let's see. Yeah, the cannons, they didn't pay for themselves. Gelt sort of got sniped. And I want to see these wolf rats. They actually didn't do too that well. Most of it came down to my teeth breakers, I think, and these plague monks. Yeah. In fact, our spears actually got some good value. And slingers. I think the thing about slingers is that they almost always make back their worth, as long as you don't let them die immediately. So yeah, they do a lot better than I expect. So our next game is up against Empire once again. We've brought a similar build to last time, except this time with Thwart and a Plague Furnace Priest. Our front line still has a bunch of Plague Monks. And we're going to see Plague Monks will be able to tear apart that Empire infantry line. What's it? We also have these our dogs with AP. They'll hopefully be able to kill knights, at the very least chase them off. So let's see how that goes. Good luck, have fun to our opponent. I think this should go okay. I don't know. How big is his army? His army is only 600 in count. So maybe he has 1,000,000 knights. Let's hope not. Alrighty, so for our opponent, he's gone for war wagons. Very interesting pick, and I would say unconventional versus Skaven. He has a lord coming on in, a what's it? A spellcaster of fire. He can fireball some weak targets like my assassin, but he should have a harder time sniping something like Thwart. In fact, it looks like, no, it's not a skirmish build because there's even a Hellstorm rocket battery. So, interesting picks from my opponent. We're going to see how it goes. We just have to be careful not to get absolutely murdered by that Hellstorm. So we're going to split up our forces a bit. And hopefully they don't take too much stacked damage for their front line. It's some flagellants and some spearmen, and that's basically it. The army is not that big. Thwart will have to be careful not to die to these war wagons. And we can do that by just hiding behind these pillars. There are some knights moving in on the side, though. And I guess if we just have our wolf rats at the ready, we can probably avoid a lot of the damage there. Burning Head comes in, hits some Skaven slaves and clan rats. And maybe even some plague monks, but we do just barely dodge out of that in time. It does slow our advance though, and it does buy some time for those war wagons to get their hits in. So we gotta be a little bit careful. Those knights too are getting closer, and I'm going to bring back my spears to defend these slingers. Heathbreakers can get a good volley against the war wagons. So they're going to lose some shots, but the war wagons actually make it out in time. So instead, we're just going to keep advancing. Thwart is screening decently here. And we should be engaging the Empire front lines in just a second. Now the spears want to take to the sides while our plague monks fight the front line fight. The Teeth Breakers now have a very nice shot towards the war wagons. And they should be doing a lot of damage. Knights are still in the back somewhere. They haven't shown themselves yet. Thwart looks like he's going to be dying to a Karl Franz, taking huge damage. We're going to need to run away with him. Make sure that he doesn't die. Thankfully, we do manage to break apart that front line, though. And we can start getting our summons off. The Knights are lagging behind a tiny bit, which lets us position our spears as needed. And our Wolf Rats are doing great damage against those, against the war wagons. Wolf Rats can now begin dealing with, Wolf Rats can now begin dealing with the Hellblaster. That should get it shut down. But the Fire Wizard, causing some problems with my guns. Let's see if this Plague Priest maybe can deal with them. Probably the wrong target to bring there, but it should be fine. The Knights now are collapsing on my Skaven slaves, but let's see how well a counter charge from Wolf Rats does. Let's see, Franz 2 is taking a lot of damage, which is good for us. And I think, let's see, we probably want to deal with those war wagons with the Wolf Rats. It turns out our Wolf Rats still take a lot of damage from Knights, and that was actually pretty painful there. There are still 6 war wagons up too, which means things are a little bit dangerous for us. And I'm a little bit worried about these Knights. Franz is a little bit beat up. And he's making another dive for my Lord. Thankfully, we have quite a bit of speed. And oh no, another Burning Head does come down. We do pull a little bit out of the way there, but still take quite a bit of damage. Let's see, where's my Assassin? He needs to get in on Franz. Thwart will also be fighting Franz. And we're going to see if we can take him out. Let's see, some Knights are charging in. Even the fire mage is joining the action. So things are a little bit scary here. We might actually be able to get some good damage on the Flagellants. We do. But there's still quite a bit of Empire forces here, and I really don't like that we're taking so many hits from so many hits from these war wagons. So let's get some Wolf Rats in there. Let's use Thwart to heal himself up, and let's just keep throwing out summons. Hopefully that'll do it. Balance of power has swung both ways, but now it's in our favor. If Thwart dies, though, that would be very bad. We are stuck in a big fight with our Plague Priest, so he's doing constant damage. And the war wagons are finally compromised. A very good thing for Thwart. And he will be able to do some damage to those Knights. Will it be enough, though? Let's see here. We really need to get them routed, and they are at full HP. You get another... Another, damage resistance buff on our Plague Priest. Will help. And there are some Wolf Rats to chase off these war wagons that have no HP. We really just need to finish them off. So the Wolf Rats are charging in. We're shooting the Knights in the back, and Thwart is still at high HP. This is really good because Franz is starting to get beat up, and if it takes multiple hits to kill Thwart, it means that he'll be able to duel Franz. But we'll still have to be careful. I think we will win it, though, just off the back of Thwart being so healthy compared to Franz. Maybe it would have been better to have Boris here if you want to go for the Fighter Lord, and just because of that healing. And it looks like we're pulling through. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so surprisingly close there. My Wolf Rats performed a little bit worse than I would have expected. And Thwart did really well. Even though he did take a lot of damage from Franz, he was able to pull it through. So yeah, I'm impressed with that. Now he can go chase down the war wagons. And okay, we don't want to make sure that we throw the game. Because Franz is still a threat. And it looks like he's actually going to snipe out our Plague Priest on a bell. Hopefully we can punish him for that though. Thwot is coming in hot. And with the debuff on Franz, he should be out of the battle. If Thwot can actually catch him though, which it looks like he might not. Oh, and Thwot, what are you doing? He actually does not manage to catch Franz. Instead, the kill going to the slingers. And with that, I think that should be game. What's it? This Fire Mage, the Bright Wizard, will be able to chase off some troops. But that's about it. He can't really take a fight against something like Thwot. And as soon as we kill those 3 flagellants, he will begin fleeing the battle. So our opponent knows that and taps out. GG. Okay, so let's take a quick look at these wolf rats. They actually paid for themselves, and I think that's mostly because they were doing a lot of damage to the war wagons. But I don't think they did a lot to the knights. I think I could have done better there. This Hellstorm rocket battery actually got a lot of value. I did a pretty bad job of shutting it down. What's it? Teeth breakers did very well. And so did our hero squad. Now, how did the Plague Monks do? They actually didn't do crazy good. What's it? In fact, yeah. Yeah, the Plague Monks didn't do that good. So maybe you guys were right. Maybe it was just with the builds. But I guess I'll take fewer Plague Monks next time. And instead just go for more infantry so that we can hold the line longer.